accuracy by omission. Yesterday, they updated information that showed that Bill Gates' net worth rose from $79.2 billion from $76 billion. From what I understand, this was actually for 2014. Of course, they can rarely get that one right, but if you think about it, what that means is that the richest person in the world, who is Bill Gates, had an increase of wealth of 4%. However, there's a lot of 99%ers that have beat that. And one example is my friend Jessica, and I promised her that I wouldn't use her full name. But she, last year, had an increase of her wealth by 611%. She is, by looking at the various data, she is in the 25th to 50th percentiles of wealth. I'm sorry, American income. I apologize. And Bill Gates' wealth increased 4.2% last year, and he's number one. So he's a 1%er, and his wealth only increased 4%, whereas Jessica's increased 611%. Also consider that those people who buy index funds, such as the S&P 500, they saw an increase in their wealth of 11.8%. So a collective of 500 companies grew faster than Mr. Number One. So clearly we can come to the conclusion that the richest person in the world is getting poorer relative to everyone else. And for those of you who don't get this, I'm being facetious, but I'm trying to point out the problem with just highlighting categories of people or groups of people and saying this group is getting richer and this group is getting poorer. As you can tell, like for instance with my friend Jessica, a person may have a really good year, they may have a really bad year, they may not, who knows. Same way, the S&P 500 had a fairly good year last year, and you have people like Bill Gates who did not actually have a very good year. So it's not always that the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. That's not true. There's a lot of variance when you look at it on an individual level. And so I just think it's interesting that you don't see this in the media, right? You don't see anybody pointing out that, well, Bill Gates' wealth didn't increase as fast as people who, for instance, bought index funds. And the reason is it stamps on or gets in the way of their narrative, right? I mean, this is not a narrative that they want to say, nor is this. They want to talk about how he's getting richer and everybody's getting poorer, when in reality that's not even true. So even though you won't see this in the media, the richest person in the world is actually getting poorer relative to those of us who are invested.